Mrs. Barlow? Mrs. Barlow? Would you mind staying a short while one of my guests doesn't know ASL? Even though this is a silent retreat for ASL. But he doesn't know.
Why not?
I don't know, but I needed his money, so I said, yeah, come on for the week. Maybe he could pick something up over the weekend. You know hearing people. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. It really does look nice. Everything really does look nice. Ooh, it's cold. Oh, stupid. How stupid of Giles. Oh, gosh. Molly.
Molly, where are you?
Doing all the work, you brute.
Oh, there you are. Leave it all to me. Shall I stoke the Aga?
Done.
Ah, hello, sweetheart. Shall I kiss you? Oh, your nose is
It's because
cold.
I just came in from the cold.
Why? Where have you been? Surely you've not been out in this weather.
I had to go down to the village for some stuff I'd forgotten. Did you get the chicken netting?
No, it wasn't the right kind. I went to another dump, but that wasn't any good either. Practically a whole day wasted. My God, I'm half frozen. Car was skidding like anything. Snow's coming down thick. Well, yeah, I bet we're gonna get snowed up tomorrow.
Oh dear, I do hope not. If only the pipes don't freeze.
We'll have to keep the central heating well stoked up. Not too good. I wish they'd send the coke along. We've not got any too much.
Well, I do hope. So I want everything to go well at first. First impressions are so important.
Is everything ready? Nobody's arrived yet, I suppose.
No, thank goodness. I think everything's in order. Mrs. Barlow is staying to help interpret. And while she is staying, I'm sure she would like to leave because of the weather.
Oh, what a nuisance these daily women are. That leaves everything on your shoulders.
And yours. It's a partnership.
So long as you don't ask me to cook.
No. That's my department. Anyway, we've got lots of tins in case we are snowed up. Oh, Giles, do you think it's going to be all right?
Got cold feet, have you? Cold feet. Are you sorry now we didn't sell the place when our aunt left it to us? Instead of having this mad idea of running it as a guest house.
Oh, no, I'm not. I love it. And talking of the guest house, just look at that.
Yeah, pretty good, huh?
It's a disaster.
What?
Don't you see? You've left out the S. You've got Monkwell instead of Monkswell. Oh.
Good Lord, so I did. However, did it come to do that? It doesn't really matter, does it? Monkwell, just as good a name.
You're a disgrace. Go stoke up to central heating.
Across that icy yard? Oh, shall bank it up for the night now.
No, you don't do that until 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, how appalling. Ugh.
No, hurry up.
Blech.
Someone may arrive at any minute now.
You've got all the rooms worked out?
Yes. Let's see, Mrs. Boyle is in the front four-poster room.
Uh-huh.
Major Metcalf is in the blue room.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Casewell is in the east room. Mr. Wren is in the oak room.
I wonder what all these people will be like. Oughtn't we to have gotten rent in advance?
Oh, no. I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Oh, we're the mugs at this game.
They're bringing luggage. If they don't pay, we hang on to their luggage. It's really quite simple.
Oh, I can't help thinking we ought to have taken a correspondence course in hotel keeping. We're sure to get had in some way. Their luggage might be just bricks. wrapped up in newspaper, and where should we be then?
Well, they all wrote from very good addresses.
Yeah, that's what servants do with forged references. Some of these people may be criminals hiding from the police.
Oh, I don't care what they are, so long as they pay us 7 guineas for the week.
Oh, you're such a wonderful woman of business, Molly.
And according to Scotland Yard, the crime took place at 24 Culver Street, Paddington. The murdered woman was a Mrs. Maureen Lyon. In connection with the murder, the police are anxious to interview a man seen in the vicinity wearing a dark coat, a light scarf, and a soft felt hat. Motorists are warned against ice-bound roads. And the heavy snow is expected to continue throughout the country. Oh, how do you do?
Oh, thank you so much. I rode down the road. The driver wouldn't.
Slow down, please. I'm interpreting for you and we need to.
Oh, I see. As I was saying, my taxi gave up at your stop. Driver wouldn't have to. No sporting instinct. Are you Mrs. Ralston? Ah, how do you do? My name is Ren.
Ah, how do you do, Mr. Wren?
You know, you're not at all what I expect you to be. I've been thinking that you were like a retired general's widow, from the Indian Army. I expected you to be very grim and symbolish, and that this whole place would be filled with burning brass. Instead, it's heavenly. Quite heavenly. That's fake. But this table's genuine. Oh, I'm simply gonna love it here. Have you got any wax flowers or quotes of paradise?
Oh, no, I'm afraid not.
What a pity. Well, what about a sideboard? A purple plum mahogany sideboard. Oh, with those little carved flutes on it.
Well, yes, we do have in the dining room.
Oh, in here? Oh, I must see.
Oh, well, okay, come back, do come back and warm yourself.
Oh, absolutely perfect. Real bedrock, respectively. But why do away with the central table? Little tables just spoil the effect.
Well, we thought guests would prefer them. Here, this is my brother.
Yeah.
How do you do? Tell me whether is it takes one back to the
Slow down. Please, slow down.
Takes one back to the days of Dickens and Scrooge and that irritating Tiny Tim. So bogus. Of course, Mrs. Ralston, you're absolutely right about the little tables. I was letting my feelings for period get in the way. If you had a mahogany dining table, you have the right family around it. A stern and proud father with a beard. A prolific faded mother. 11 children of assorted ages. A grim governess. And somebody by the name of poor Harriet, the poor relations, who acts as General Dog's buddy and is very, very grateful for being given a good home.
Yeah, take your suitcase upstairs for you. Oak room, did you say?
Yes.
Oh, I do hope it's got a four-poster with those little chintz roses.
It hasn't.
I don't think your brother's gonna like me very much. How have you two been living here together?
Oh, we've been here just about a year. Perhaps you'd like to go up and see your room.
Ticked off. But I do like knowing so much about people. Well, I think people are fascinating, don't you?
Well, I suppose some are, and then some are not.
No, I don't agree with you. I think everyone is fascinating because you never really know what they're thinking. For instance, you don't know what I'm thinking about, do you?
No, not in the least. Would you like a cigarette?
No thanks. You see? The only people who really know what other people are like are painters. And they don't even know why they know it. But if they're portrait painters, then it comes out on the canvas.
Oh, are you a painter?
No, I'm an architect. My parents, baptized me Christopher in the hopes that I'd be an architect. Ah, Christopher Wren. As good as halfway home. Of course, people will still make fun about it at the St. Paul's, but who knows? I may yet have to have the last laugh. Ah, Christopher Wren's prefabness may go down in history. I think I'm really gonna like it here. I find your sister very sympathetic.
Indeed.
And very, very attractive.
Oh, don't be absurd.
Just like an English woman. Compliments always embarrass them. European women take compliments as a matter, but English women have all of the feminine spirit crushed out by their brothers. There's something very Polish about English brothers.
Why don't you go up and see your room?
Sure.
Giles, could you stoke up the hot water boiler? Oh, this is Monkswell Manor, I presume.
Yeah?
I am Mrs. Boyle.
Yeah, I'm Charles Ralston. Come into the fire, Mrs. Boyle. Get warm. I'll leave the door. Awful weather, isn't it? This is your only luggage.
Major Metcalf, is seeing to it.
I'll leave the door open for him.
If the taxi wouldn't risk coming up the drive, it stopped at the gate. We had to share a taxi from the station, and it was great difficulty in getting that. Nothing ordered to meet us, it seems.
I'm so sorry. We didn't know what train you would be coming by. You see, otherwise, of course, we'd have seen that someone was, standing by.
All trains should have been met.
Of course. Let me take your coat. Yes, my wife will be here in a moment. I'll just go along, give Metcalf a hand with the bags.
The drive might at least have been cleared of snow. Most offhand and casual, I must say. Oh, I'm so sorry. Mrs. Ralston. Yes, Oh, you're very young. Young? Well, to be running an establishment of this kind, you can't have had much experience. Well, there has to be a beginning for everything, hasn't there? I see. Quite inexperienced. It's an old house. I hope you haven't got dry rot. Certainly not. A lot of people don't know they've got dry rot until it's too late to do anything about it. The house is in perfect condition. Well, it could do with a coat of paint. You've got worm in this oak.
This way, Major. This is my wife, sister.
How do you do?
How'd you do to absolute blizzard outside? Thought at one time we shouldn't make it. Oh, I beg your pardon. If it goes on like this, I should say you'll have 5 or 6 feet of snow by morning. Not seen anything like it since I was in Kosovo. I'll take these rooms up. Which rooms did you say? Blue room and the rose room?
No. I put Mr. Wren in the rose room. He liked the 4 posters so much. So it's Mrs. Boyle in the oak room and Major Metcalf in the blue room.
Major! So,
do you have much servant difficulty here? We have quite a good friend of mine who helps us here and now. She's from the village. And what about indoor staff? Oh, no indoor staff, just us. Indeed, I understood this was a guest house in full running order. Well, we're only just starting. I would have said that a proper staff of servants was essential before opening this kind of establishment. I wonder if your advertisement was most misleading. May I ask if I am the only guest, with Major Metcalf, that is? Oh, no, there are several here. Ah, and this weather, too. A blizzard, no less. Oh, very unfortunate. Well, but we couldn't very well foresee the weather.
The north wind doth blow, and it too shall snow. And what will the robin do then, poor thing? Oh, I adore nursery rhymes. Always so tragic and macabre. That's why children love them.
Oh, may I introduce Mr. Wren, Mrs. Boyle? How do you do?
This is a very beautiful house, isn't it?
I've come to the time of life when the amenities of an establishment are more important than its appearance. If I had not believed that this was a running concern, I should never have come here. I understand it was a fully equipped guest house with every home comfort.
There's no obligation for you to remain here if you're not satisfied, Mrs. Boyle.
No, indeed. I should not think of doing so.
If there's been any misapprehension, it'd be better perhaps if you went elsewhere. I could bring for the taxi for you. The roads are not blocked. You know, we've had so many applications for rooms that we shall be able to fill your place quite easily. In any case, we're raising our terms next month.
Oh, well, I am certainly not going to leave before I have tried what the place is like. You needn't think you can turn me out now. Well, perhaps you'll take me up to my bedroom, Mrs. Ralston. Certainly, Mrs. Boyle. Darling, you were wonderful.
I think that is a perfectly horrifying woman. I don't like her one bit. I'd love to see her just get tossed out into the snow. Serves her right.
It's a pleasure to. I've got to forgo, I'm afraid. There's the doorbell. Lord, another of them. Come in. Yes. I was afraid my car bogged down about half a mile down the road, ran into a drift. Here, let me take this. Any more stuff in the car? No, I travel light. Mr. Wren? Yeah, Miss,
Doctor.
Doctor?
I'm...
My... Casewell. Yes, my wife will be down. Sister will be down in a minute. No hurry. Got to get myself thawed out. Looks as though you're going to be snowed up here. Weather forecast says heavy falls expected. Motorists warned, etc., etc. Hope you've got plenty of provisions in. Oh, yes. My sister's an excellent manager. Anyway, we can always eat our hens. We've always started eating each other, I guess.
Any news in the paper other than the weather?
Oh, usual political crisis. Oh, yes, and a rather juicy murder.
Ooh, murder! I love murder!
They seem to think it was a homicidal maniac. Strangled a woman somewhere near Paddington. Sex maniac, I suppose.
It doesn't say much, does it? The police are anxious to interview a man seen in the vicinity of Colger Street. Medium height, wearing a dark overcoat, a lightish scarf, and a soft felt hat. Police have requested that this to be broadcast throughout the day.
Useful description. Fit pretty well anyone, wouldn't it?
When the police say that they are anxious to interview someone, could that be an indication that he's the murderer?
Oh, could be. Who was the woman who was murdered?
Miss Lyon. Miss Maureen Lyon.
Young or old?
It doesn't say. Doesn't seem to have been a robbery.
I told you, sex maniac. Yeah, here's Dr. Casewell. Molly, my sister. How do you do?
It's an awful night. Would you like to come up to your room? The water's hot if you'd like a bath.
Yes, you're right. I would.
I really must hurry out to the kitchen and get on with things. Major Metcalf is very nice. He won't be difficult. It's Mrs. Boyle who really frightens me. We must have a nice dinner. I was thinking of opening 2 tins of minced beef and cereal and a tin of peas and mashing the potatoes. And there's stewed figs and custard. Do you think that'll be all right?
Oh, I should think so. Not very original, perhaps.
Oh, do let me help out. Oh, I adore cooking. What an omelet. You've got eggs, haven't you?
Oh, yes. We have plenty of eggs. We keep lots of fowl. They don't lay as well as they should, but we've put down a lot of eggs.
And if you got any cheap, like any type of wine, you could add it to the minced beef and cereal, did you say? Gives it a continental flavor. Show me where the kitchen is and what you've got, and I dare say shall have an inspiration.
Well, come on, it's right in there. Oh, isn't he sweet? He's put on an apron and he's getting all the things together. He says leave it all to him and don't come back for half an hour. If our guests want to do the cooking themselves, it will save a lot of trouble.
Why did you unearth to give him the best room?
Oh, I told you, he liked the 4-poster.
He liked the pretty 4-poster. Twerp.
Giles!
I've got no use for that kind. You didn't handle a suitcase, I did.
Had it got bricks in it?
Yet there's no weight at all. You ask me, there was nothing inside it. It's probably one of those young men who go about bilking hotel keepers.
Oh, I don't believe it. I like him. I think Dr. Casewell's rather peculiar, don't you?
Nah, terrible person. Can't imagine she's doctor.
It seems very hard that all our guests should be either unpleasant or odd. Anyway, I think Major Metcalf's all right, don't you?
Probably drinks.
Oh, no. Do you think so?
No, I don't. I was just feeling rather depressed. Well, at any rate, we know the worst now. They've all arrived.
No. Well, who can that be?
Probably the Culver Street murderer.
Oh, don't. 1,000 pardons.
Oh.
I am, where am I?
This is Monkswell Manor Guest House.
Oh, but what stupendous good fortune, madame. What an answer to a prayer, a guest house, and a charming hostess. My Rolls Royce, alas, has run into a snowdrift. Blinding snow everywhere. I do not know where I am. Perhaps, I think to myself, I shall freeze to death. And then I take a little bag. I stagger through the snow. I see before me the big iron gates. Habitation. I am saved. Twice I fall into the snow as I come up your drive. But at last I arrive and immediately despair turns to joy. You can let me have a room, yes?
Oh, yes.
It's a rather small one, I'm afraid. Oh, naturally, you have other guests. we've only just opened this place as a guest house today, and so we're rather new at it. Oh, it's charming, charming.
Oh, what about your luggage?
Ah, that is no consequence. I have locked the car securely.
But wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better to get it in here?
No. I assure you, on such a night as this, there will be no thieves abroad. And for me, my wants are very simple. I have all I need here, in this little bag. Yes, all that I need. Well, you'd better get thoroughly warm. I'll see about your room. I'm afraid it's a rather cold room because it faces north, but all the others are occupied. Oh, you have several guests then? Yeah, there's Mrs. Boyle and Major Metcalf and Dr. Casewell and a young man named Christopher Wren and, well, now, you. Yes, I am the unexpected guest. The guest you did not invite, eh? The guest who just arrived from nowhere, out of the storm. It sounds quite dramatic, does it not? Who am I? You do not know. Where do I come from? You do not know. Me, I am the person of mystery. But now, I tell you this. I complete the picture. From now on, there will be no more arrivals. And no departures either. By tomorrow, perhaps even already, we are cut off from civilization. No butcher, no baker, no milkman, no postman, no daily papers, nobody and nothing but ourselves. That is admirable, admirable. It really could not suit me better. Oh, my name, by the way, is Paravince. Aha! Oh, well, yes, ours is Ralston. Oh, yes, I see. Mr. and Mrs. Ralston, yes? Oh, no,
No.
And this is a Monkswell Manor guest house, yes? You said that good. A Monkswell Manor guest house. Yes, it's perfect. It's perfect. Oh. I consider it most dishonest not to have told me they were only just starting this place.
Well, everything's got to have a beginning, you know. Excellent breakfast this morning. Good coffee. Scrambled eggs, homemade marmalade, and all nicely served, too. Little woman does it all herself.
Amateurs. They should have a proper staff.
Excellent lunch, too.
Corned beef? Oh!
But very well disguised corned beef. Red wine in it. Mrs. Ralston promised to make a pie for us tonight.
You know, this fireplace is just not really hot. I shall speak about it.
Very comfortable beds, too. At least mine was. Hope yours was, too.
It was quite adequate. I don't quite see why the best bedroom should have been given to that very peculiar young man.
Got here ahead of us. First come, first served.
From the advertisement I got quite a different impression of what this place would be like. A comfortable writing room and a much larger place altogether with bridge and other amenities.
Regular old folks' home.
I beg your pardon.
Yes, I quite see what you mean.
Well, no, indeed. I shan't stay here very long.
No, I don't suppose you will.
Yes.
No, don't worry about it. We appreciate you.
Really, that is a very peculiar young man. Unbalanced mentally, I shouldn't wonder.
Think he escaped from a lunatic asylum?
I shouldn't be at all surprised. Giles?
Yes?
Giles? Oh, can you shovel the snow away again from the back door?
Coming. I'll give you a hand. What? Good exercise. Must have exercise.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Really? What an incredible young woman. Doesn't she know anything about housework, carrying a carpet sweeper through the front hall? Aren't there any back stairs?
Oh, yes, nice back stairs. Very convenient if there is a fire.
Then why not use them? Anyway, all the housework should have been done in the morning before lunch.
I gather our hostess has to cook the lunch.
Yes. Well, it's all very haphazard and amateurish. There should be a proper staff.
Not very easy to get nowadays, is it?
No, indeed. The lower classes seem to have no idea of their responsibilities.
Poor old lower classes got the bit between their teeth, haven't they?
No, I gather you are a socialist.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I'm not a red, just a pale pink. But I don't take much interest in politics. I live abroad.
Oh, I suppose conditions are much easier abroad.
Well, I don't have to cook and clean, as I gather most people have to do in this country.
This country has gone sadly downhill. Not what it used to be. I sold my house last year. Everything was just too difficult.
Hotels and guest houses are easier.
They certainly solved some of one's problems. Are you over in England for long?
Depends. I've got some business to see to. When it's done, I shall go back.
Oh, to France?
No.
Italy?
No.
Oh, well. Oh dear. Would you mind not having that on quite so loud? I always find the radio rather distracting when one is trying to write letters.
Do you?
Yes, I don't particularly want to listen right now.
It's my favorite music. There's a writing table in there.
Yes, I know, but it's much warmer here.
Much warmer, I agree.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Bloody old bitch. Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
everywhere we go, that one always follows me. She just stares, positively stares.
I am your interpreter. I'm supposed to follow you. It's my job.
Turn it down a bit.
Is that alright?
Oh, yes, it served its purpose.
What purpose?
Tactics, boy.
Tactics. Oh, you mean her.
She pinched the best chair. I've got it now.
Ah, you drove her out. I'm glad. Very glad. I don't like her one bit. Ooh, let's come up with ways to annoy her, shall we? I wish she'd just leave this place forever.
In this? No, not a hope.
Ah, but when the snow melts.
Oh, when the snow melts, lots of things may have happened.
Yes, that is quite true. You know, I absolutely adore snow. So peaceful and pure. It makes one forget things.
No, it doesn't make me forget.
Ooh, how fierce you sound.
I was thinking.
What kind of thinking?
Ice on a bedroom jug, chilblains, raw and bleeding, one thin ragged blanket, a child shivering with cold and fear.
My dear, that sounds too grim. What is that, a novel?
No, you didn't know I was a writer, did you?
Oh, are you?
Oh, sorry to disappoint you. Actually, I'm not.
Oh, phone. Yes, this is Monkswell Manor Guest House. What? No. I'm afraid Mr. Ralston can't come to the telephone just now. This is Mrs. Ralston speaking. Who? The Berkshire Police? Oh, yes. Superintendent Hogben. I'm afraid that's impossible. He'd never get here. We're snowed up, completely snowed up. The roads are impassable. Nothing can get through. Yes, very well, but what? Hello? Hello? Oh.
Molly, do you know where there's another spade?
Giles, the police have just rung up.
Trouble with the police, eh? Serving liquor without a license?
Oh, please. Look, they're sending out an inspector or a sergeant or something.
But you'll never get here.
Yes, that's what I told them, but they seemed quite confident that he would.
Nonsense. Even a jeep couldn't get through today. Anyway, what's it all about?
That's what I asked, but he wouldn't say. He just said I was to impress on my brother to listen very carefully to what Sergeant Trotter, I think it was, had to say and to follow his instructions implicitly. Isn't it extraordinary?
What do you think he had to say?
Well, I don't know what we've done. What do you think? Maybe the liquor license?
Now, I did remember to get the liquor license, didn't I?
Yes, and the Wi-Fi license. It's in the kitchen drawer.
I had a rather a near shave with the car the other day, but it was entirely the other fellow's fault.
Well, we must have done something.
Probably something to do with running this place. I expect we've ignored some tin pot regulation of some ministry or other. You can't practically avoid it nowadays.
Oh dear, I wish we'd never started this place. We're going to be snowed up for days and everyone is cross and we shall have to go through all our reserve of tins.
Oh, cheer up, darling. Everything's going to be all right at the moment. I filled up the coal scuttles and brought in the wood and stoked the aga and done the hens. I'll go and do the boiler next and chop some kindling. And do the boiler next. You know, Molly, come to think of it, it must be something pretty serious to send a police sergeant trekking out on all of this. It must be something really urgent.
Oh, there you are, Mr. Ralston. Do you know the central heating in the library is practically stone cold?
Yeah, sorry, Mrs. Boyle, we're a bit short of coke and...
I am paying 7 guineas to stay here, 7 guineas, and I do not want to freeze.
I'll go and stoke it up.
Oh. Mrs. Ralston, if you don't mind my saying so, that is a very extraordinary young man you have staying here. His manners and his ties, and does he ever brush his hair? Well, he's an extremely brilliant young architect. I beg your pardon. Christopher Wren is an architect. Oh, my dear young woman, I have naturally heard of Sir Christopher Wren. Of course, he was an architect. He built St. Paul's Cathedral. You young people seem to think that no one is educated but yourself. No, I mean this Wren. His name is Christopher. His parents called him that because they'd hoped he'd be an architect. And he is, or nearly is one, so it turned out all right. Well, it sounds a fishy story to me. I should make some inquiries about him if I were you. What do you know of him? Well, I know as much as I know about you, Mrs. Boyle, which is that you're both paying us 7 guineas a week. That's all I really need to know, isn't it? And all that concerns me, frankly. It doesn't matter to me whether I like my guests or whether I don't. You are young and inexperienced and should welcome advice from someone more knowledgeable than yourself. And what about this foreigner? What about him? You weren't expecting him, were you? Look, to turn away a bona fide traveler is against the law, Mrs. Boyle. You should know that. Why would you say that? Well, weren't you a magistrate sitting on the bench, Mrs. Boyle? Oh, all I say is that this Pariachi or Paramachi or whatever he is, it seems to me that he's just not Beware, young lady, you talk of the devil, and here I am. Oh, I didn't hear you come in. I come in on the tiptoe like this, see? And nobody never hear me. But if I do not want them to, I find that very amusing. Indeed. Now, there was a young lady. Well, I must get on with my letters. I'll see if it's a little warmer in the drawing room. My charming hostess looks upset. What is it, dear lady? Oh, everything's rather difficult this morning because of the snow. Yes, the snow. It makes things difficult, does it not? Or else it makes them very easy. Yes, very easy. I don't know what you mean. No, there is quite a lot you do not know. I think for one thing, you do not know very much about running a guest house. Oh, I dare say we don't. But we mean to make a go of it. Yes, bravo. And I'm not such a very bad cook. Oh, now, you are without a doubt an enchanting cook. May I give you a little word of warning, Mrs. Ralston? You and your brother must not be trusting. You know, you have references, with your guests, these guests of yours. Is that usual? I mean, I thought people just came. It is advisable to know a little about the people who sleep under your roof. Take, for example, myself. I turn up, saying my car, it is overturned in a snowdrift. What do you know of me? Nothing at all. I may be a thief, a robber, a fugitive from justice, a madman, even a murderer. Oh, you see? And perhaps you'll know just a little of your other guests. Oh, well, as far as Mrs. Boyle goes, oh, the drawing room is far too cold to sit in. I shall write my letters in here. Allow me to poke. I poke the fire for you.
Mrs. Ralston, is your husband about? I'm afraid the pipes of the downstairs cloakroom are frozen.
Oh, dear, what an awful day. First the police, and then the pipes. Oh, the police?
Police, did you say?
They rang up just now to say they're sending a sergeant out here. But I don't think he'll ever get here.
The ready coaxed more than half stones in the price of... Hello?
Do you mind?
Is anything the matter? I hear the police are on their way here. Why? Oh, that's all right. No one can get through in this. Why, the drift must be 5 feet deep. The roads are all banked up. Nobody will get me here today. Excuse me, Mr. Parvinchito, but I put these down.
Yeah, excuse me.
Oh. Well, who is that? Who's out there?
Oh, Giles, he must have gone around to the front door.
Are you Mr. Ralston? Let me help you with your coat. Yes, there. Oh, skis. You use those. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Detective Sergeant Trotter, Berkshire Police. Can I get these skis off and stow them somewhere?
Go around that way to the front door. I'll meet you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I suppose that's what we pay our police force for nowadays, to go around enjoying themselves at winter sports. Why did you send for the police, Mrs. Ralston? Oh, no, but I didn't.
Who is that man? Where did he come from? He passed by in the drawing room on skis, and he looked terribly haughty.
You may not believe it, or you may, but that man is a policeman. A policeman skiing. My.
This is Detective Sergeant Trotter. Good afternoon.
You can't be a sergeant. You're too young.
Oh, I'm not quite as young as I look, madam.
But terribly haughty.
We'll stow your skis under the main stairs. Excuse me, Mrs. Ralston, but may I use your telephone?
Oh, of course, Major Metcalf.
He's very attractive, isn't he? You know, I find all policemen attractive.
No brains. You can see that at a glance.
Hello, Miss Ralston. This telephone is dead, quite dead.
Well, it was all right a half an hour ago.
Hello, no, still quite dead. Gone with the lines, gone with the weight of the snow, I suppose.
So, we're cut off. Quite cut.
I don't see anything to laugh at.
No, indeed. Calm yourself.
It's a private joke of mine. Hence the sleuth's turns.
Now, can we get to the business, Mr. Ralston, Mrs. Ralston? Do you want to see us alone? If so, we can go into the library. No, not necessary, sir. It'll save time if everybody's present. If I might sit at this table.
I beg your pardon. I don't need
Yes, thank you.
Oh, do hurry and tell us what we have done.
Done? Oh, it's nothing of that kind, Mrs. Ralston. It's something quite different. It's more a matter of police protection, if you understand me.
Police protection?
Yeah, it relates to the death of Mrs. Lyon, Mrs. Maureen Lyon of 24 Culver Street, London West 2, who was murdered yesterday, the 15th instant. You may have heard or read about the case.
Yes, I did hear about it on Facebook. The woman who was strangled?
That's right, madam. First thing I want to know is if you were acquainted with this Mrs. Lyon. No,
I
never
never
heard of her. You may have known of her under the name of Lyon. Lyon wasn't her real name. She had a police record and her fingerprints were on file, so we were able to identify her without difficulty. Her real name was Maureen Standing. Her husband was a farmer, John Standing, who resided at Longridge Farm, not far from here. Longridge Farm? Wasn't that where those children? Yes, the Longridge Farm case. 3 children. 3 children. That's right, miss. The Corrigans. 3 children. The boys and a girl, 2 boys and a girl, brought before the court as in need of care and protection. A home was found for them with Mr. and Mrs. Standing at Longridge Farm. One of the children subsequently died as a result of criminal neglect and persistent ill treatment. Case made a bit of a sensation at the time.
Oh, it was horrible.
The Standings were sentenced to terms of imprisonment. Standing died in prison. Mrs. Standing served her sentence and was duly released. Yesterday, as I say, she was found strangled at 24 Culver Street.
Oh, well, who did it?
I'm coming to that, madam. A notebook was picked up near the scene of the crime, and that notebook was written 2 addresses. One was 24 Culver Street. The other was Monkswell Manor.
Oh.
What? Yes, sir. And that's why Superintendent Hogben, on receiving this information from Scotland Yard, thought it imperative for me to come out here and find out if you knew of any connection between this house or anyone in this house and the Longbridge Farm case. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. It must be a coincidence. Superintendent Hogman doesn't think it is a coincidence, sir. He'd have come himself if it had been in any way possible. Under the weather conditions, and as I can ski, he sent me the instructions to get full particulars of everyone in this house, to report back to him by phone, and to take what measures I thought fit to ensure the safety of the household. Safety? What danger does he think we're in? Good Lord, he's not suggesting that somebody's going to be killed here. I don't want to frighten any of the ladies, but frankly, yes, that's the idea. But why? That's what I'm going to find out. But the whole thing's crazy. Yes, sir, because it's crazy that it's dangerous.
Oh, nonsense.
I must say, it seems a bit far-fetched.
Oh, I think it's wonderful.
Is there something that you haven't told us, Sergeant?
Yes, Miss Ralston. The two addresses was written 3 blind mice. And on the dead woman's body was a paper with "This is the first" written on it. And below the words, a drawing of 3 little mice with a bar of music. The music was the tune of the nursery rhyme, 3 blind mice. You know how it goes, you know how it goes. Can you sing?
3 blind mice, 3 blind mice, see how they run. They all ran after the farmer's wife. Oh, it's horrible.
There were 3 children and 1 died. Yes, the youngest, a girl of 11. What happened to the other 2? A boy was adopted by someone. We haven't been able to trace his present whereabouts. The elder boy would now be about 22, deserted from the army, not been heard of since. According to the army psychologist, was definitely schizophrenic. A bit queer in the head, that is to say.
So they think that it was he who killed Mrs. Lyon?
Yes?
Mrs. Stanning? And that he's a homicidal maniac? And that he'll turn up here and try to kill someone? But why?
That's what I've got to find out from you. As the superintendent sees it, there must be some connection. Now, Mr. Giles, now you state, sir, that you yourself have never had any connection with the Longbridge Farm case. No. And the same goes for you, madam?
No, I mean, no connection.
What about the servants?
Oh, well, we haven't got any servants, and she's my neighbor. Oh, that reminds me, would you mind, Sergeant Trotter, if I went to the kitchen? I'll be there if you want me.
That's quite all right, Mrs. Colson. Now, can I have all your...
No. This is quite ridiculous. We are merely staying in a kind of a hotel. We only arrived yesterday. We've nothing to do with this place.
You planned to come here in advance? No, you'd booked your rooms here ahead?
Well, yes. All except Mr. Paravinci, my car shall overturn in a snowdrift.
I see. What I'm getting is that anyone who's been following you around might know very well that you were coming here. Now, there's just one thing I want to know, and I want to know it quick. Which one of you that has some connection with this business at Longbridge Farm? You're not being very sensible, you know. One of you is in danger, deadly danger. I've got to know which one. All right, I'll ask you one by one. You first, since you seem to have arrived here more or less by accident, Mr. Poofy, Barry.
I'm Mrs. Boyle. I'm Paravinci. But my dear Inspector, I know nothing about what it is you have been talking about. I am a stranger in this country. I know nothing of these local affairs of the bygone years.
Mrs.
As I said before, Boyle, I don't see. I really consider it an impertinence. Why on earth should I have anything to do with such this distracting business?
And you, Doctor Casewell, Leslie Casewell. I never heard of Longbridge Farm, and I know nothing about it. And what about you, sir? Major Metcalf, read about the case in the papers at the time. I was stationed in Fort Sill. No personal knowledge. And you?
Christopher, man. I was merely a child when it happened. I don't even remember any of it.
And that's all you have to say, any of you?
Oh, there's her.
Yes. Well, if any of you gets murdered, you'll have nothing to blame but yourself. Now then, Mr. Ralston, can I have a look around the house?
Oh my goodness, how melodramatic. He is very attractive, isn't he? All policemen are. Quite a thrill this whole business is. 3 bad nights. How does it go again?
Oh, really, Mr. Wren?
Ah, you don't like it? But it's a signature. A signature for a murderer. Oh, just imagine what a kick he must be getting out of it.
Melodramatic rubbish! I don't believe a word of it.
Just you wait, Mrs. Boyle. Like time. Or I'm gonna strangle you from behind.
Oh, stop!
That'll do, Christopher. It's a poor joke anyway. In fact, it's not a joke at all.
Ah, but it is. That's what all of this is. A madman's joke. That's what makes it deliciously macabre. If only you could see your faces right now.
That's all right, my dear. We know it's not your fault. Oh, a singularly ill-mannered, neurotic young man. Where's Giles?
Taking our policeman on a conducted tour of the house.
Your friend, the architect, has been behaving in a most abnormal manner.
Young fellows seem nervy nowadays. Dare say he'll grow out of it.
Nerves. I've no patience with people who say they had nerves. I haven't any nerves.
No, perhaps that's just as well for you, Mrs. Boyle.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think you were actually one of the magistrates on the bench at the time. In fact, you were responsible for sending those 3 children to Long Ridge Farm.
Really? Major Metcalf, I can hardly be held responsible. We had reports from welfare workers. The farm people seemed very nice and were most anxious to have the children. It seemed most satisfactory. Eggs and fresh milk and a healthy out-of-doors life.
Kids blow starvation in a thoroughly vicious couple.
But how was I to know? They were very civilly spoken. I was right. It was you. One tries to do a public duty and all one gets is abuse. You must have forgiven me, but indeed I find all of this most amusing. I enjoy myself greatly. I never did like that person.
Where did he come from last night?
I don't know.
Looks a bit of a spiv to me. Makes his face up too. Rouge and powder. Disgusting. He must be quite old, too.
Yeah. Well, and yet he skips about as though he were quite young.
You'll be wanting more wood. I'll get it.
It's almost dark, and yet it's only 4 in the afternoon. I'll turn the lights on. Ah, that's better. Now, where did I leave my pen? Oh, what a horrid little tune that is.
Don't you like it? Reminds you of your childhood, perhaps? An unhappy childhood?
I was very happy as a child.
You were lucky.
Weren't you happy?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But all that's a long time ago. One gets over things. Long time ago. Move on.
I suppose so.
Or doesn't one? Doesn't want damned hard to say.
They say that what happened when you were a child matters more than anything else.
They say. Who says?
The psychologist.
Oh, humbug. Just a damned lot of nonsense. I've no use for psychologists and psychiatrists.
I've never really had much to do with them.
A good thing for you haven't. It's all a lot of hooey. The whole thing. Life's what you make of it. Go straight ahead. Don't look back.
Oh, one can't always help looking back.
Nonsense. It's a question of willpower. I know.
Well, perhaps. I expect you're right, but sometimes things happen to make you remember.
Don't give in. Turn your back on them.
Is that really the right way? I wonder, perhaps, maybe that's all wrong. Perhaps one ought to really face them.
Depends on what you're talking about. Depends on what you're talking about.
Sometimes I hardly know what I'm talking about.
Nothing from the past is going to affect me, except in the way I want it to. Well, everything seems all right upstairs. What's in here? Drawing room? What's in there? Drawing room?
Would you mind shutting that door? This place is full of drafts.
Oh, sorry, madam, but I've got to get the lay of the land. Molly, what's all this? Well, that completes the tour. Nothing suspicious. I think I'll make my report now to Superintendent Hogben.
But you can't use the phone. The line's dead.
What? Since when?
Well, Major Metcalf tried it just after you arrived.
But it was all right earlier. Superintendent Hogben got through it all right.
Oh, yes, but I suppose since then the line's been down with the snow.
I wonder, it may have been cut. Cut? But who could cut it? Mr. Ralston, just how much do you know about these people who are staying in your guest house? We don't really know anything about them. Mrs. Boyle wrote from our Bournemouth hotel, Major Metcalf, from an address in, where was it?
Oh, that would be Leamington.
Yeah. Brent wrote from Hampstead, and Dr. Caswell from a private hotel in Kensington. Paravinci, as we're told you, turned up out of the blue last night. Still, I suppose they've all got passports, that sort of thing. I shall go out into all of that course, but there's not much reliance to be placed on that sort of evidence.
But even if this maniac is trying to get here and kill us all, or one of us, we're quite safe now because of the snow. No one can get here until it melts.
Unless he's already here. Here already? Why not, Mr. Ralston? All these people arrived here yesterday evening, some hours after the murder of Mr. Stanning. Plenty of time to get here. But except for Mr. Paravinci, they all booked beforehand. Well, why not? These crimes were planned. Crimes? There's only been one crime, in Culver Street. Why are you sure there will be another here? That it will happen here? No. I hope to prevent that, but it will be attempted. Yes. I can't believe it. It's so fantastic. It isn't fantastic, it's just plain fact.
You've got a description of what this man looked like in London?
Yep, medium height, intermediate build, darkish overcoat, soft felt hat, face hidden by a muffler, spoke in a whisper. Now there are 3 darkish overcoats hanging up in the hall now. One of them is yours, Mr. Ralston. There are 3 lightish felt hats, and I see things here that...
I still can't believe it.
You see? It's this telephone wire that worries me. If it's been cut.
Oh, it makes me so anxious. I have to go on with the vegetables. I need to go on.
Is there an extension? I beg your pardon. Did you say something? Yes, Mr. Ralston. I said, is there an extension? Yes. Up in the bedroom. Go and try it up there for me, will you?
Oh, now, who left this window open? Look at that. Oh, on the radio. Maybe there's a program. Let me see.
To understand what I may term as the mechanics of here, you have to study the precise effect on the human mind. Imagine, for instance, that you are alone in a room. It is late in the afternoon. A door opens softly behind you.
Oh, it's you. I can't find any program worth listening to. Here, what are you doing? Why did you turn out the light? Why is it all dark? And what was that noise?
Now, Mrs. Ralston, try and think. Think.
Oh, I can't think. My head's numbed.
Mrs. Boyle has only just been killed when you got to her. You came from the kitchen. Are you sure you didn't see or hear anybody as you came along the hallway?
No, I don't think so. Just the radio blaring in here. I couldn't think who turned it on, especially so loud. I'm hard of hearing, so I wouldn't hear anything else with that, would I?
That was clearly the murderer's idea. Or murderess.
How could I see anything else?
Well, you might have done. If the murderer had left the hall that way, he might have heard you coming from the kitchen. He might have slipped up the back stairs or into the dining room.
Well, I'm not sure, but I saw a door slowly shut just as I came out of the kitchen.
Which door?
I don't know.
Think, Mrs. Ralston. Try and think. Upstairs, downstairs, close at hand, right, left.
I don't know, I tell you. I'm not even sure I saw anything. It's all such a muddle in my mind.
Oh, can't you stop bullying her? Can't you see she's exhausted? We are investigating a murder, Mr. Ralston. Up to now, nobody has taken this thing seriously. Mrs. Boyle didn't. She held out on me with information. You all held out on me. Well, Mrs. Boyle is dead. Unless we get to the bottom of this, and quickly, mind you, there may be another death. Another nonsense? Why? Because there were 3 blind mice. A death for each of them? But there would have to be a connection. I mean, another connection with the Long Ridge Farm business.
So, you live next door? Yes, I'm Molly's best friend. You look familiar to me. I was the magistrate in the Long Ridge Farm case. Your farm next door is the old Long Ridge Farm. Why didn't you mention that when the detective was questioning if we had any connection? Well, I was interpreting. You can't talk for yourself and interpret for someone else and be clear. Oh, no, my dear. You young people think older people are blind. I recognized you the moment I arrived. You were the housekeeper for that awful couple and the house full of children they took in. Well, I can't see how that matters. They're all gone and I live in the house alone now.
But why another death here? Because there are only 2 addresses. In the notebook we found, now at 24 Culver Street, there was only one possible victim. She's dead, but here at Monkswell Manor there is a wider field. Nonsense, surely it would be a most unlikely coincidence that there should be two people brought here by chance, both of them with a share in the Longridge Farm case. Given certain circumstances, it wouldn't be so much of a coincidence. Think it out. Dr. Casewell. Now, I want to write down quite clearly where everyone was when Mrs. Boyle was killed. I've already got Mrs. Ralston's statement. You were in the kitchen preparing vegetables. You came out of the kitchen along the passage, through the French door into the hall, and in here. The radio was blaring, but the light was switched off and the hall was dark. You switched the light on, saw Mrs. Boyle, and screamed.
Yes, I screamed and screamed, and at last people came.
Yes, as you say, people came. A lot of people from different directions, all arriving at more or less the same time. Now then, when I got out of that window to trace the telephone wire, you, Mr. Ralston, went upstairs to your room, adjacent to your sister's room. Where were you when your sister screamed? I was still in the bedroom where you had sent me. The extension telephone was dead, too. I looked out of the window to see a sign of the wires being cut, but there I couldn't. Just after I closed the window again, I hear Molly scream, and I rushed down. Those simple actions took you rather a long time, didn't they? I don't think so. I should say you definitely took time over them. I was thinking about something. Thinking about how much you disliked Mrs. Boyle?
There is no obligation for you to remain here if you are not satisfied, Mrs. Boyle. I should not think of leaving. If there has been any misapprehension, it would perhaps be better if you went elsewhere. I could bring up a taxi to return. The roads are not yet blocked. I think I need someone to show me to my room.
Mr. Wren, I'll have your account of where you were.
I went to the kitchen to see if I could help Mrs. Ralston with anything. I do adore cooking. Afterwards, I went back up to my room.
Why?
Well, I think it's perfectly natural for one to go to his room. I mean, one does want to be alone sometimes.
You went to your bedroom to be alone?
And to comb my hair.
You wanted to brush your hair?
Yeah, anyway, that's where I was.
And you heard Mrs. Ralston scream?
Yes.
And you came down?
Yes.
Curious that you and Mr. Ralston hadn't met on the stairs.
I went by the back stairs. They're closer to my room.
Do you go to your room by the back stairs, or did you come through here?
I went back up the back stairs as well.
You had motive to dislike Mrs. Boyle, too, didn't you?
Why, no,
Such a peculiar young man. Does he ever brush his hair and his ties? Oh.
You drove her out. I'm glad. Very glad. I do not like her in the least. Let's come up with ways to get rid of her.
Lots of things can happen when the snow melts.
Paravinci, what is your story? Paravinci.
I'm sorry, I have told you. I was playing the piano, Inspector.
No, I'm not an inspector, just sergeant. Did anyone see you playing the piano in the drawing room?
I do not expect so. This is, after all, a silent retreat. Also, I was playing very softly, with just one finger, so. Tink, 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 tink. You were playing Three Blind Mice. You told me it's the only thing you know.
Is that so?
It is a catchy little tune. It is, how I say, a haunting little tune. Don't you all agree?
I think it's horrible. It's a murderous tune.
And yet, it runs into people's head. Someone else was whistling it, too.
Whistling it? Where?
Not sure, but perhaps in the front hall, or perhaps on the stairs, perhaps even upstairs in a bedroom.
Who was whistling for Three Blind Mice? Are you making this up, Perovich?
Oh, me make it up? No, Inspector, I beg your pardon. Sergeant, I would not do a thing like that.
Well, go on, you were playing the piano.
Yes, and with one finger, so. And then I hear the radio is playing very loud. Someone is shouting on it. It offended my ears. And after that, suddenly I hear Mrs. Ralston. She screamed! Ah!
Mr. Ralston upstairs, Mr. Wren upstairs, Perovich in the drawing room, Dr. Casewell was writing letters in the library. Did you hear what was going on? No, like you, Sergeant, I am deaf. And no, I didn't see anything either. But when Mrs. Ralston screamed, everyone ran for the room, and I followed. You saw everyone run to this room? Pounding on the floor and doors opening and closing. Yes, I saw everyone run for this room, and I followed. While you were writing a letter. Yes. And there is no unfinished letter on the writing desk in the library.
I brought it with me.
Dearest Jessie, a friend of
None
yours?
of your damn business.
Perhaps not. You know, if the house was in chaos and it seemed to be an emergency when I was writing a letter, I don't believe I'd take the time to pick up the unfinished letter, fold it, and put it in my pocket before going to see what was the matter. You wouldn't? How interesting.
Oh, they're both of you. Come now. You have reason to kill Mrs. Boyle. I believe she was about to out you both to the others in the house.
And don't suppose I haven't met people of your kind before. I am very aware of your attachment to Perovich. I cannot imagine what it is you could mean, dear lady. Don't, dear lady, me. The two of you are in a relationship. That much is very clear. You shouldn't talk about what you don't know. You make yourself look foolish. Well, I saw your article on LGBTQIA protests planned for Culver Street. I know that poor lady Mrs. Stanning was fighting against you both. You probably didn't like that she was filing a lawsuit to stop you from flinging yourselves about in public, as your kind do. A newspaper article cannot tell the whole tale. We fight for the rights of our brothers and sisters, rights that people like you would like to ignore. I can't bother with people like you. The only thing that keeps you happy is your closed mind and judgmental behavior toward everyone. Oh, you can both be sure I will be telling the sergeant of your connection to the Culver Street murder. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Calm yourself. Simply being on the same street does not mean that we are murderers. The sergeant would quickly find that out. People like you assume anyone associated with the LGBTQIA movement is evil enough to be a murderer. Aberrant behavior only leads to deeper aberrant behavior and depravity. I wouldn't put murder out of the question for either of you.
Now, Major Metcalf, what about you? You say you were in the cellar. Why? Looking around, I looked into that cupboard place under the stairs, near the kitchen, a lot of junk and sports tackle, and I noticed there was another door inside, and I opened it and saw a flight of steps. I was curious, and I went down. Nice cellars you've got. Seem to lead to tunnels.
I'm glad you like them.
Not at all. Seems like one of those tunnels may lead to Longridge Farm. Or should I say, to your house. Probably used as part of the Underground Railroad of some time. We're not engaged in We're not engaged in antiquarian research, Major Metcalf. We're investigating a murder. Indeed we are. Mrs. Ralston, as said, she saw a door shut slowly. That particular door could be the way the murderer escaped. It could be, you know, that after killing Mrs. Boyle, the murderer heard Mrs. Ralston coming from the kitchen and slipped into the cupboard, pulling the door shut behind him. A lot of things could be.
There would be fingerprints on that cupboard.
Mine are there all right. But most criminals are careful to wear gloves, aren't they? It's usual, but all criminals slip up sooner or later. Indeed they do. But, Mrs. Ralston, please don't interrupt. Thank you. We've got to establish opportunity as well as motive. And now let me tell you this, you all had opportunity. There are 2 staircases.
Oh, no, I didn't do it. There are 2 staircases. Anyone could go up by one and down by the other. Anyone could go down to the cellar by the door near the kitchen and come up a flight of stairs that access the kitchen.
I am sure both Mr. Redden and Mrs. Ralston know that point of egress. Mrs. Ralston, you do seem to go to the kitchen every time things get a bit dicey in here. I'm leading this investigation, please.
Oh, I have to cook. I mean, I was just trying to make this guest house work, and now look what's happened. A murder with our first gathering of guests.
Hey, don't pick on her. I only just came in for the week. How was I supposed to know that this house has a secret staircase?
Stop! All of you. The vital fact was all of you were alone at the time the murder was committed. But look, Sergeant, you speak as though we're all under suspicion. In a murder case, everyone's under suspicion. But you pretty much know who killed that woman on Culver Street. It must be the same person who killed Mrs. Boyle, and we all should agree it is probably the eldest of the 3 children who were abused at the farm. A mentally abnormal young man who is now 23 years of age. Well, damn it all, there's only one person here who fits the bill.
No, it's not true. You're all against me. Everyone's always been against me. You're gonna frame me for murder. It's persecution, I tell you. Persecution.
Steady, lad, steady.
Oh, it's all right, Chris. No one is against you. Tell him it's all right.
We don't frame people.
No, I mean, tell him you're not going to arrest him.
I'm not arresting anyone. To do that, I've got to have evidence. I haven't got any evidence yet. I think you're crazy, Molly. And you too. There's just one person who fits the bill, and if it only as a safety measure, he ought to be put under arrest. It's only fair to the rest of us.
No, wait. Giles, wait. Sergeant Trotter, can I speak to you a minute alone?
Certainly, Mrs. Ralston. Will it please the rest of you go into the dining room? No, I'm staying. I'm staying! I don't know what's come over you, Molly.
Please.
Yes, Mrs. Ralston. What is it you want to say to me?
Sergeant, you must think that this crazy killer must be the eldest of those 3 boys at the farm. But you don't know that, do you?
Well, we don't actually know a thing. All we've got so far is that the woman who joined with her husband in ill-treating and starving those poor children has been killed. and the woman magistrate responsible for placing the children in that house was killed. Several of the people here have connections to that case and were not willing to openly admit it when I first asked. There is also the problem of there being no cell phone service, and the landline telephone wire has been cut, so I have no link to police headquarters.
Well, you don't even know that the wire was cut. It could have been the snow.
No, Mrs. Ralston, the line was deliberately cut. It was cut just outside the front door. I found the place.
I see.
Now stay seated, Mrs. Ralston.
Well, but all the same, you don't know.
I'm going by probability. It all points one way. Mental instability, childish mentality. Then there's the deserter from the army in the psychiatrist's report.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you in private. My brother and I have led very different lives. Once we both went off to college, we had no contact with each other until our aunt left us this place. I know, Christopher. That's why he came this week. Even though it's a silent retreat and he doesn't know sign language, we were nearly engaged. He's a sweet person. We only broke it off because of our language difference. It just became too hard.
What other possibilities do you see?
Well, hadn't those children any relations at all?
The mother was drunk. She died soon after the children were taken from her.
All right, well, what about their father?
He was an army sergeant, serving abroad. He's alive. He's probably discharged from the army by now.
Could he be Major Metcalf?
We've no information to trace him. May take some time, I think. But I can assure you, Mrs. Ralston, that the police take every eventuality into account.
Well, Major Metcalf served in Kosovo. What if he suffered terribly and came back, found his wife dead, and his children having gone through a terrible experience, and when he died, he might go up his head and walk revenge?
That's only surmise.
But it's possible.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Ralston, it's quite possible.
So the murderer might be the one we least expect. When I said the police had rung up, Major Metcalf was frightfully upset. He really was. I saw his face.
Major Metcalf.
Yeah, well, he's a former soldier, and although he seems quite nice and, well, perfectly normal, his insanity might not show, so you have more suspects than just Christopher.
Yes. Maybe any other suggestions?
Well, Pedavinci. Pedavinci dropped the poker when I said the police had called up.
Pedavinci.
Yeah, I know they seem harmless, but they're eccentric, and, well, Dr. Casewell seems to be watching Pedavinci, too. Oh, I know it sounds very melodramatic, but he might be disguised.
You are very anxious, aren't you, that it shouldn't be Mr. Wren?
Well, he seems so helpless and unhappy, and I am afraid that somehow it's my fault for breaking off our engagement. He really hasn't found anyone else, you know.
Mrs. Ralston, let me tell you something. I've had all possibilities in mind ever since the beginning. The boy George, the father, and someone else. There was a housekeeper, you remember?
Oh, yes, the newspaper stories mentioned her.
It could have been a woman who killed Maureen Lyon. A woman with a scarf pulled up and the man's felt hat pulled well down, and the killer whispered, you know. It's the vice that gives the sex away. The vice, the vice. Yes, it might have been a woman.
Mrs. Barlow? Oh, that's impossible. She's a friend of mine. She could never do that.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Ralston. There's a wide field. There's yourself, for instance.
You mean me? Me, it's not. It's definitely not me.
No, whatever you are about to tell me, I've got no way of checking. No internet in this storm at the moment. Then there's your brother Giles.
Giles? How ridiculous.
You yourself said the two of you had lost touch as adults until very recently. How much do you know about your brother?
Oh, don't be silly. It can't be Giles. I know everything about him. He's Giles. I mean, it's horrible to suggest he could be some crazy homicidal maniac. Why, he couldn't have been on Culver Street. He wasn't in London yesterday when the murder took place.
No, where was he? Here?
Oh, no. He went to a country sale to get some wire netting for the chickens.
Did he bring it back with him?
Oh, no, he didn't bring it back. It turned out to be the wrong kind of netting.
Only 30 miles from London, aren't you? Not far at all.
I'm telling you, it can't be Giles. He was not in London.
Just a minute, Mrs. Ralston. Isn't this your brother's coat?
Yes?
Evening News, sold on the street about 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Don't you? Really? Evening News, 3:30 in the afternoon. You don't believe it?
Oh, my. Dear. Was this Giles? The two of you startled me.
Where is he? Where is he gone?
Who?
The sergeant!
Oh, he went out that way.
Bollocks. If only I could get away. Is there any place that I could hide?
In the house? You
Yeah.
mean how?
Yes, from him.
Why?
But darling, they're all so frightfully against me. They're all going to think I commit these murders, particularly your brother.
Oh, never mind him. Listen, Christopher, you can't go on running away from things all your life.
Why would you say that?
Well, it's true, isn't it?
Yes, it's quite true, isn't it?
You've got to grow up sometime, Chris.
I wish I hadn't.
I know, you can't hang on to the past and expect to be looked after all your life. Things happen to you. People break up, and you've got to bear them. You've got to go on as usual.
One simply can't do that.
Yes, one can.
You mean you have?
Yes.
Was it something bad?
Well, something I've never forgotten.
It wasn't us, was it?
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. When Giles and I were apart, you know, we went to different boarding schools and really only just got back in touch when we were given this house. I had something horrible happen. It was just horrible. I try to put it out of my mind. I try never to think about it.
So, you're running away from your problems instead of facing them?
Oh, so yes, perhaps in a way, I am.
Anyway, you think I ought to stick it out?
Well, frankly, what else can you do?
I might pinch the sergeant's skis. I could ski quite well.
Oh, no. That would be frightfully stupid. It would be almost like you're admitting you are guilty.
Sergeant Trotter already thinks I'm guilty.
Oh, no, he doesn't. At least, well, I don't know what he thinks. I hate him. showed me this newspaper, and I just hate him. I hate him. I hate him.
Who?
Sergeant Trotter. He puts things into your head, things that aren't true, things that can't possibly be true.
Like what? Come on, out with it.
Oh, God, I don't believe it. I won't believe it.
Come on, spill.
You see that?
Yeah?
You know what it is? Yesterday's evening paper, a London paper, and it was in Giles's pocket, but Giles didn't go to London yesterday.
Is that so?
Well, he wasn't here all day. He went off in the car to look for chicken wire, but he couldn't find any.
So, everything is fine, right? Why shouldn't he have gone to London?
Well, why shouldn't he tell me that he did?
Well-
Why pretend he's been driving around the countryside?
Well, perhaps with the news of the murder.
He didn't know about the murder. Or did he? Did he?
Good Lord, Molly. You don't think... The sergeant doesn't think...
Oh, I don't know what the sergeant thinks. And he can make you think all kinds of things about people. You ask yourself questions and you begin to doubt. You feel that somebody you know and love might really be a stranger. That's what happens at night there. You're somewhere in the middle of friends, and then you suddenly look at their faces, and they're not your friends any longer. They're different people, just pretending. Perhaps you can't trust anybody. Perhaps everyone is a stranger. I don't know.
I seem to be interrupting something.
No, we were just talking. I must go to the kitchen. There's pie and potatoes. I must do the spinach. I have to go.
I'll come with.
No, you won't. You stay away from my sister. She's not going to be your next victim.
Oh, is that what you think of me?
I've already said so, haven't I? There's a killer loose in the house, and you seem to fit the bill.
I'm not the only one that fits the bill.
I don't see who else does.
Are you blind, or do you pretend to be blind?
I tell you, I'm worrying about my sister's safety.
So am I, and I'm not going to leave her alone with the likes of you.
What the hell?
Oh, no. Chris? Please go, Chris.
I shan't be far.
What is all this? Molly, you must be crazy, perfectly prepared to shut yourself up in the kitchen with a homicidal maniac.
He is not. He isn't.
You've only got to look at him to see he's balmy.
He isn't. He's just unhappy. I tell you, Giles, he isn't dangerous. I'd know if he was dangerous, and anyway, I can look after myself.
That's what Mrs. Boyle said. Look here, what is there between you and that wretched boy?
I feel sorry for him, that's all.
That's what you say. Perhaps you've been running up to London to meet him on the sly.
You know perfectly well that I haven't been up to London for weeks.
You haven't been up to London for weeks. Is that so?
What on earth do you mean? It's quite true.
Then what is this? This is one of the gloves you were wearing yesterday. You dropped it. I picked it up this afternoon when I was talking to Sergeant Trotter. You see what is inside? A bus ticket.
Oh, it's not that.
So it seems you didn't really go to the village yesterday. You went to London as well.
All right. I went.
Whilst I was safely away racing around the countryside.
Whilst you were racing around the countryside.
Oh, come on now, admit it. You went to London.
All right. I went to London.
What?
So did you.
Where did you get a hold of that?
So did you. You brought back an evening paper.
Where did you...
Right here.
Anyone could have put it there.
It was in your overcoat.
Well, anyone could have put it there. I said that.
Did they? No, you were in London.
All right. I was in London.
Lies and secrets. Why do we all live such hidden lives?
Molly, what's come over you? You're different all of a sudden, keeping secrets going to London. I feel as though I don't know you anymore.
Perhaps you never did know me. You don't really know what I thought or did when we were both apart at boarding school.
Molly, you are crazy. Surely you don't think I went to Culver Street.
All right, then I'm crazy. Why not? I suppose you think I went to Culver Street.
What the hell?
Oh, now. I hope you younger people are not both saying a little more than you mean. Quite so. I know just how it is you feel. I have been through all of these domestic misunderstanding when I was a younger person myself.
None of this is your business.
No business. No business. But I just came in to say that the sergeant cannot find his skis, and he is very annoyed.
What's that?
Now, he wants it to know if you have moved them, Mr. Ralston.
No, of course not.
Okay.
Mr. Ralston, Mrs. Ralston, have you removed my ski from the cupboard back there where we put them? Certainly not. The snow is still...
Somebody's taking them. What to make you happen to look for them?
The snow is still packed in. I need help to get here. Reinforcements. I'm going to ski over to the police station at Market Hampton to report the situation.
Oh, and now you plans. Oh, dear. Somebody seen to it that you certainly shan't do that. But there could be another reason, couldn't there?
Yes, what?
Well, somebody may want to get away.
Yes, what? What did you mean when you said Christopher just now?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. Oh, so our young architect he has hooked it, has he? Very interesting.
Is this true, Mrs. Ralston?
Oh, thank goodness. Look, here's Christopher. You haven't gone at all.
Did you take my skis? Mr. Wren?
Your skis, Sergeant? No, why would I?
Oh, Mrs. Ralston seemed to think,
Mr. Wren is very fond of skiing. I thought he might have taken them to get a little exercise.
Exercise? Now listen, you people. This is a serious matter. Somebody has removed my only chance of communication with the outside world. I want everybody here at once.
I think that Dr. Case, well, he might have gone upstairs. Oh, I'll go get them. I left Mr. Major Metcalfe in here. Oh, he's not in there now.
I'll try and find him. Hello, looking for me? It's a question of my skis. Skis?
Oh, I'll go look for Giles upstairs.
Good. Did either of you two move a pair of skis from the cupboard near the kitchen door? Good Lord, no. Why would I? Did you move my skis? Good Lord, no. Why would I? I didn't touch them. So none of you admit to taking them. Ought to be easy to find. Skis are very large things. Hard to hide, I'd say. Not so fast, Major Metcalfe. None of you leave. I'm in the position now where I've got to put myself in the place of a crazy, cunning brain. I've got to ask myself what he wants us to do and what he himself is planning to do next. I've got to try and keep just one step ahead of him, because if I don't, there's going to be another death. You still don't believe that? Yes, I do. 3 blind mice. 2 mice cancel out. A third mouse still to be dealt with. There are 7 of you here listening to me. One of you's the killer. I don't know which one yet, but I shall. And another of you is the killer's prospective victim. Mrs. Boyle held out on me, and Mrs. Boyle is dead. You, whoever you are holding out on me. Well, don't do it, because you are in danger. Nobody who was killed twice is going to hesitate to kill the 3rd time. And as it is, I don't know who needs protection. Come on now. Anybody who has anything, however slight, to reproach themselves for in the Long Acres Farm case had better come up with it. All right, you won't. I'll get the killer. I've no doubt of that, but it may be too late for one of you. And I'll tell you another thing. The killer's enjoying this. Yes, he's enjoying himself a good deal. All right, you can go. You can step away from my sister.
Giles? Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. Your brother, he is afraid for you. It's quite natural under the circumstances. He don't want any of us getting too close. As for me, it is my sadistic tendencies he fears. Not that I might be romantically inclined. I'm sure Giles doesn't think. Oh, he is very wise. You take no chances. Can I prove to you or him or to our dogged Sergeant Trotter that I am not a homicidal maniac? No. So difficult to prove a negative. And I suppose that instead I am really la-la-la, la-la-la, la-la-la. Don't do that. Oh, but it's such a gay little tune, don't you think? She cut up their tails with that carving knife. A snake, snake, snake. Ha ha. Cruel little things, children, huh? Some of them never grow up.
Stop frightening my sister at once.
It's silly of me, but you see, I found her. Her face was all purple. I can't forget it. I know, it's difficult to forget things, isn't it? You aren't really the forgetting kind. I really must go. The food, the dinner, the potatoes, they're all falling to pieces. Please, Giles.
What did you say to the lady to upset her?
Oh, me? Sergeant? Oh, it's just an innocent little joke.
There's nice fun. And then there's fun that's not so nice.
Now, I wonder what is you mean by that, Sergeant.
I've been doing a little wondering about you. About your car and how it happened to overturn in a snowdrift.
Ha! You think it was so conveniently? No, inconvenient you mean, don't you, Sergeant?
That rather depends on the way you're looking at it. Just where were you bound for, by the way, when you had this, this accident?
Oh, I was on the way to see my friend.
In this area?
Well, not so far from here.
And what was the name and address of this person?
Oh, not really, Sergeant Trotter. Does that matter now? It has nothing to do with the predicament we are in, has it?
We like to collect the fullest information.
Yes. Having asked so many questions of so many people, you ask questions of yourself as well? Isn't that overdoing things?
I might get an answer for myself. I don't get many from you.
Heck, you got to try again. What that is if you have anything other than to ask me my private information about who I might like to visit.
I have 1 or 2 more questions. Where were you coming from last night?
Oh, you see, I was coming from London.
What address in London?
Oh, I always stay at the hotel, the Ritz Hotel.
Very nice too, I'm sure. What is your permanent address?
Oh, no, no, no. I dislike permanency.
What is your business?
I play at a stock market.
Stockbroker.
No, 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 no. You misunderstood me.
Enjoying this little game, aren't you? Sure of yourself, too, but I shouldn't be so sure you're mixed up in a murder case, and don't you forget it. Murder isn't just fun and games.
And not even this murder? Dear me, you're very serious, Sergeant Ratter. I always have thought a policeman have no sense of humor. Is the inquisition over for the moment?
For the moment, yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I shall just go look for your skis. Maybe in the drawing room, just in case someone has hidden them in the grand piano.
Just a moment, please. Were you speaking to me? Yes, perhaps you'd come and sit down. Well, what do you want? You may have heard my conversation with Herr Vinci. Yeah, I heard. I'd like a little information about you. Well, what do you want to know? Full name, please. Leslie Margaret Catherine Casewell. Oh, Catherine with a K. Yes. Okay. Quite so. Address? Villa Mariposa, Majorca. Is that in Italy? No, Spain. It's an island in Spain. I see. And your address in England? Cab Morgan's Bank, Leadenhall Street. No other English addresses? No. How long have you been in England? A week. Have you been staying here where since your arrival? Oh, I stay at the Ledbury Hotel, Knightsbridge. Well, what brought you to Monkswell Manor, Dr. Casewell? Well, they advertised an ASL silent retreat. As a deaf person, that attracted me. And how long do you propose to stay here? Until I have finished what I came to do. What was it you came to do? Oh, I really don't see why I should answer any more of your questions. It's strictly the matter that concerns only me alone, a strictly private affair. Oh, all the same. No, I don't think we will argue about it. Would you mind telling me your age? Not at all. It's on my passport. I'm 24. 24.
Thinking I look older.
You were thinking I look older. That is quite true. Is there anyone who can vouch for you? Well, my bank will reassure you as to my financial position, but I have lived most of my life abroad. In Majorca. Yes, in Majorca and other places. And were you born abroad? No. I left England when I was 13. You know, Dr. Casewell, I can't quite make you out. Does it matter? Oh, I don't know. When you left England, what was your name?
I told you, my name was Leslie. And I told you that my name is Leslie Catherine, Margaret Catherine.
Got it. What are you doing, Catherine?
Oh, God, I wish I'd never come.
I thought that the police weren't allowed to give people the third degree.
Oh, I've merely been asking questions of Dr. Casewell.
You seem to upset him.
Oh, I can't believe it.
What can't you believe? 6 impossible things before or breakfast like the Red Queen.
Yes, it's rather like that.
Dear me, you look like you've seen a ghost.
I've seen something I ought to have seen before. Blind as a bat I've been, but I think we may be able to get somewhere.
Wow, the police have a clue.
Yes, Mr. Wren, at last the police have a clue. I want everyone assembled here again. Do you know where they are?
Giles and Molly are in the kitchen. I've been helping Major Maycalf look for your skis. We looked in the most astonishing places, but alas, to no avail. I don't know where Paravinci is.
Paravinci, you go get the others. Paravinci?
Yes, Sergeant. What is it I can do for you? Little boy policeman has lost his skis and don't know where to find them. Leave them alone and they will come on, dragging a murderer behind them.
What's all this? Sit down, everyone. Have a seat. Have a seat.
Must I come now? It's really very inconvenient.
That's very tacky, Sergeant.
There are more important things than meals, Mrs. Ralston. Mrs. Boyle, for instance, won't want another meal.
That's very tacky, Sergeant.
Sorry, but I want cooperation and I intend to get it. Mr. Ralston, will you go and get Dr. Casewell to come down? He just went up to his room. Tell him it'll only be a few minutes.
No, Mrs. Ralston, but I may say I have a very shrewd suspicion of who took them.
No, but have your skis been found, Sergeant?
No, Mrs. Ralston, but I may say I have a very shrewd suspicion of who took them and of why they were taken. I won't say more at the present moment.
Please don't. I always think the explanation should be kept to the very end. That exciting last chapter, you know?
This is not a game.
But you see, that's where I think you're wrong. I think that this is a game to someone. You think that the murderer is enjoying himself. Maybe. Maybe.
What? What? What is happening? Sit down, Dr. Casewell, Mr. Ralston. Will you all pay attention, please? You may remember that after the murder of Mrs. Boyle, I took statements from you all. Those statements related to your positions at the time of the murder. These statements were as follows. Mrs. Ralston, in the kitchen. Paravinci, playing piano in the dining room. Mr. Ralston in his bedroom. Mr. Wren in his bedroom, with his interpreter, I believe. Dr. Casewell in the library. Major Metcalf in the cellar.
Well, actually, I was in the bathroom. I mean, seriously, people, even interpreters need an occasional break.
Yes, of course. Correct. Those were statements you made. I had no way of checking these statements since there is no internet here or CCTV. They may be true, they may be not. To put it clearly, 6 of these statements is true and 1 is not. Which one is false? 6 of you were telling the truth. 1 of you was lying. I have a plan that may help me to discover the liar. And if I discover that 1 of you lied to me, then I know who the murderer is. Not necessarily. Someone may have lied for some other reason. Oh, I rather doubt it. Oh, what's the matter? What's the idea? You've just said you have no means of checking these statements. No, but supposing everyone goes through the actions a second time.
Please, that old chestnut. Reconstruction of the crime.
That's a foreign idea. No, not a reconstruction of the crime, Paravinci. A reconstruction of the movement of apparently innocent persons. And what do you expect to learn from that? You will forgive me if I don't make that clear just at the moment. You want a repeat performance? Yes, Mr. Ralston, yes, I do.
Oh, no, I think it's a trap.
What do you mean it's a trap?
It's a trap. I just know it is.
I only want people to do exactly what they did before.
But you see, I don't see what you can expect to find if everybody does the exact same thing. It's just nonsense.
Do you, Mr. Red?
Well, you can count me out. I'm too busy in the kitchen.
I can't. No, I can't count anybody out. One might believe you were all guilty by the looks of you. Why are you all so unwilling? Of course, when you say go, Sergeant, we'll all cooperate, right, Molly?
Oh, very well.
Wren? Dr. Casewell? Yes. Paravinci?
Oh, yes, of course I consent.
Lutkov? Yes. Are we all to do exactly what we did before? The same actions as performed before, yes.
Ha! Then I will return to the piano with the other rule. Once again, I will pick out with one finger a signature tone of the murderer. Dum, 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 dum.
Not so fast, Mr. Paravinci, Mrs. Paravinci. Do you play the piano, Mrs. Ralston?
Yes, I do.
And you know the tune of Three Blind Mice?
Well, don't we all know it?
Well, then, you could pick it out on the piano as Paravinci did with just one finger. Oh, good. Please go into the other room, sit at the piano, and be ready to play when I give you the signal.
Okay. But, Sergeant, I understood we were each to repeat our former roles.
The same actions will be performed, but not necessarily by the same people. Thank you, Mrs. Ralston. I don't see the point. Aha, there is a point. It is a means of checking up on the original statements, and maybe one statement in particular. Now, will you all pay attention, please? I will assign each of you your new stations. Mr. Wren, will you kindly go to the kitchen? Just keep an eye on Mrs. Ralston's dinner for her. You're very fond of cooking, I believe. Paravinci, will you go up to Mr. Wren's room? By the back stairs is the most convenient way. Mrs. Barlow, please attend him as you did before for Mr. Wren. Major Metcalf, will you go to Mr. Ralston's room and examine the telephone there? Dr. Casewell, will you mind going down to the cellar? Mr. Wren can show you the way. Unfortunately, I need someone to reproduce my own actions. I am sorry to ask it of you, Mrs. Ralston, but would you go out that window and follow the telephone wire around to near the front door? Rather a chilly job, but you're probably the toughest person here. And what are you going to do?
Major Metcalf asks. And what are you going to do?
I am enacting the part of Mrs. Boyle. Taking a big risk, eh? Taking a big risk, eh? You will all go to your places and remain there until you hear or see me call you.
Over. I think he's stupid. He's parlor games.
No objection to my wearing a coat. I should advise it, sir. Take my flashlight. It's behind the curtain.
Yes? What is it you want? You're looking very pleased with yourself. Have you got what you wanted?
I got exactly what I wanted.
So you know who the murderer is?
Yes, I know.
Oh, which of them?
You ought to know, Mrs. Ralston.
You think it's me?
Yes, you've been extraordinarily foolish. You know you run a good chance of being killed by holding out on me. As a result, you've been in serious danger more than once.
I don't know what you mean.
No, come now, Mrs. Ralston. We policemen aren't quite so dumb as you think. All along I've realized that you've first-hand knowledge of the Longacre Farm case. You knew Mrs. Barlow was the housekeeper. You knew Mrs. Boyle was the magistrate. In fact, you knew all about it. Why didn't you speak up and say so?
I don't understand. I just wanted to forget. I wanted to forget.
Your student teaching job in college was in the school where those children went.
Yes.
Is it true that the child who died tried to get a letter to you?
Yes.
The letter begged for help. Help from her kind young teacher. You never answered that letter.
I couldn't. I never got it.
You just didn't bother.
That's not true. I was ill. I went down with pneumonia that very day. The letter was put aside with others. It was weeks afterwards that I found it in a lot of other letters, and by then, the poor child was dead. Dead, waiting for me to do something, hoping, gradually losing hope. Oh, it's haunted me ever since. If only I hadn't been ill. If only I had known. Oh, it's monstrous. I didn't think policemen carried revolvers.
The police don't. I'm not a policeman, Mrs. Ralston. You thought I was a policeman because I rang up from a phone booth and said I was speaking from police headquarters and that Sergeant Trotter was on his way. I cut the telephone wires before I came in the front door. You know who I am, Mrs. Ralston. No? I'm Georgie. Janie's brother, Georgie. You'd better not scream, Mrs. Ralston, because if you do, I shall fire this revolver. I'd like to talk to you a little. I said I'd like to talk to you a little.
Yes.
Janie died. That nasty, cruel woman killed her. They put her in prison. Prison wasn't bad enough for her. I said I'd kill her one day. I did too. In the fog, it was great fun. Oh, I hope Janie knows. I'll kill them all when I grow up. That's what I said to myself, because grown-ups can do anything they like. I'm going to kill you in a minute.
No, better not. You'd never get away safely, you know.
Somebody's hidden my skis. But this house and the Longacre Farm are connected by tunnels. Come out, dearest. Yes, my love showed me all the ways we could escape, but this blasted snow got in the way. It doesn't matter if I'm in this house or the farm. The snow's too deep to go much further.
Mrs. Barlow? But I thought...
I know what you thought, and ever since you've met me, you've treated me as a servant. Help clean, cook, interpret for free on demand all the time. Well, I'm not a human telephone, Molly. I was there and was as helpless as the children. I helped Georgie escape, and we have been together in finding revenge.
That, revolver will make a lot of noise.
Yes, it will. I'd better do it my favorite way. Strangle you. La 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 la, little mouse in the last trap. Georgie, do you know me, don't you? Don't you remember the farm, Georgie? The animals, the fat old pig and the day the bull chased us across the field, and the dogs. Ruff, ruff. And the dogs. Oh, oh, oh. Yes, Spot and Plain.
Kathy. Yes, Kathy, you remember me now, don't you? You remember how I always told you I felt like I was a boy, just like you, but trapped in a girl's body? Well, now I am just like you, Georgie.
Kathy, it is you. What are you doing here? I came to England to find you. I didn't recognize you until you twirled your hair the way you used to. Yes, you always did it. Georgie, Georgie, come with me. You're coming with me. Where are we going? I've become a doctor at a very nice place. It's all right. We'll go there. And they'll look after you, Georgie. We'll make sure you won't do any more harm. Ralston, everyone come on into the living room. Molly, are you all right? I was so worried.
Oh, Giles,
Whoever would have dreamt it was Trotter?
he's crazy, quite mad.
Yes, but you...
Oh, I was mixed up in it all. I taught ASL as a student teacher in the school. It wasn't my fault, but he thought I could have saved his sister.
Oh, you should have. You should have told me.
Oh, no, I wanted to forget.
Everything is under control. Dr. Casewell has him well in hand. He will be unconscious soon with a sedative. Poor fellow is crazy as a bedbug. Of course, I had my suspicions. All along I had my suspicions.
You did? Didn't you believe he was a policeman?
Oh, I knew he was a policeman. You see, Mrs. Ralston... Ha ha ha. Look at me. I'm a policeman.
You?
As soon as we got hold of his notebook, the one with Monkswell Manor written on it, we saw it was vital to have someone on the spot. When it was asked of him, Major Metcalf agreed to let me take his place. I couldn't understand it when Trotter showed up.
And Dr. Casewell was his best friend?
Yes, it seems he recognized Trotter just before he attempted to kill you. He didn't know what to do, but fortunately came to me about it. Just in time. Oh, well, it is sorted out. Now, Mrs. Barlow is in the front hall waiting arrest. It's beginning to thaw outside, and help should be here pretty soon. Oh, by the way, Mrs. Ralston, I'll remove those skis. I hid them at the top of the four-poster.
And I thought it was Paravinci.
Oh, I gather they'll examine that car of his rather carefully. He passes as an activist and goes around pickpocketing and stealing Swiss watches. I shouldn't be surprised if they found some of his stash of stolen watches in the wheel well of his car.
Molly.
Believe you thought I was...
Well, what were you doing in London yesterday?
Oh, dear Molly, I was buying you a present to celebrate our opening of Monkswell Manor as a guest house. Your dream come true.
I guess you better be careful what you wish for. Oh, Giles, that's what I went to London for. A thank you gift for working with me to create Monkswell Manor. I know it wasn't what you really wanted. I just didn't want you to know. I wanted to surprise you.
Well, it was an opening full of surprises, that's for sure.
Here. Cigars. I do hope they're all right.
They're splendid. Here's yours. It's a hat. Mrs. Ralston, there's a terrible smell coming from the kitchen. I think your dinner is burning.
Oh, that was my pie.